Hello there and welcome to Film Raw here at Bunkazilla UK. It is the place where we review the latest movies from across the cinematic spectrum. I am your host as always, Iain Boulton, and I am joined once again by my cinematic partner in crime. It is, of course, Christian Allan.
Hello, you've let me back on the feed, you fool.
I don't know if I'm going to live to regret this. I'm not sure. So
do people realise that we're in the same room?
I'm not sure. I mean, your DVD collection is slightly... Oh,
Is that working?
No, I'm looking the wrong way. I'm looking the wrong way. Hang on, do it this way. Hello.
A bit of Marilyn Smith here, isn't it? Do the whole thing like that. Oh, look, an ABBA music video. You look forward, I look that way.
Knowing me, knowing you. Hey, Christian, you know we talked about the trial of the Chicago 7 last episode with one Sacha Baron Cohen?
Yes, I remember it well.
I fancy another dose of Sacha Baron Cohen.
You mean you want a double dose of Sacha sauce?
Ooh, that sounds spicy, especially when it features the return of Borat. So, so it's a very nice way to say that we are going to be talking about Borat subsequent movie film very, very shortly. Stick with us. Our review's coming up, but first, this. Before we start on our video review, if you want to be notified about brand new videos from Film Raw and the rest of the Bunkazilla UK team, simply hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like. It will make the Bunkasaurus very happy indeed. So let's talk about Borat subsequent movie film, or if you want to use the full title, Christian, if you would please.
Borat subsequent movie film, delivery of prodigious bribe to American regime for make benefit once glorious nation of Kazakhstan. Did it look like I was reading that off a cue? Because I was.
I don't know. I was looking towards our cinema audience.
Yeah, they seemed very impressed.
So yes, that is quite a mouthful for a film title, but then again, the first film had a similar one. So
do you remember the full name of the first Borat movie?
No, absolutely
Cultural
not.
Earnings of America for make benefit glorious nations of Kazakhstan. I even have the soundtrack, and it's insane. And the amount of times I've had friends like rip the CD out of the player when I've been driving around like the New Forest because the Kazakhstan national anthem was just driving them a bit too spare. I'd say about at least 5 times in my life, which is more than anyone else, I'd imagine.
So let's look at the new Borat film. It's been 14 years since the first one.
How is it 14 years since Borat came out? How old are we now?
Too old, I think. But yes, a quick overview, it is Sacha Baron Cohen's most iconic and infamous character making a return appearance with a sudden arrival of a sequel. Following Borat's first trip to America, he is scorned by his glorious nation of Kazakhstan and made to work digging ditches. Many years later, the country offers Borat a chance to redeem himself by sending him back to America and offering a lovely peace gift to America. Unfortunately, his daughter, Tutar, played by Maria Bakalova, has come along for the ride, and she may be the key to Borat's redemption. And the clue in the title. So yeah, this is the new Borat film in a nutshell. Now I'm gonna be really honest about this. I never took to Borat when the first film came out, and I think it was because of the oversaturation of the character at the time. Anytime someone just mentioned Borat, you got there, he's nice and all that sort of stuff, and it's just I was just fed up with it. And again, I hadn't watched much of Sacha Baron Cohen's work. I didn't watch the Ali G show, but I still saw the first film of Borat. But I remember not necessarily coming out of this thinking it was an amazing film or it was a riotous comedy. It just didn't seem to click to me. I think the funny thing is I actually enjoyed Bruno more because I think there was less oversaturation with Bruno than there was with Borat.
Yeah, I think Bruno was it was still a hit because it was
both films were a hit.
Yeah, because it was after the Borat fallout.
Yeah.
I don't think people took to Bruno as much as this character. Which I think Bruno is a bit underrated personally.
Yeah.
I think there's some fantastic bits in it, especially the African baby adoption scenes are absolutely incredible. But I'm actually coming from this from the opposite side to yours. Is the fact I was a huge fan of the Ali G show and the previous stuff on the 11 o'clock show as well. And the Borat character was always just, I fell in love with him. And I thought as a teenager, I thought it was the most hilarious thing imaginable. I always thought Borat was funnier than Ali G, even though Ali G is a work of genius, or Alistair Graham as he's actually known. By the way, if you haven't seen Ali G in the House, I also think that's a criminally underrated movie.
I haven't seen that movie.
It's dumb, but it's brilliantly dumb. But with Borat, when Borat came out, I was very excited, and I don't think I have ever laughed as hard in my life as watching Borat in a cinema with 400 people also screaming with laughter during the hotel scene, for example.
Yes.
And I was as a fan, I was very happy with the film. It was miles ahead of Ali G into House, which I still like, but it was, this was on a whole different level. To this day, I consider the first Borat movie one of the greatest comedy movies of all time. I don't think Baron Cohen got close to it, not even with Bruno, which again I really liked, and subsequent works like Who Is America, which I'd still recommend because I think it's funny, it's very interesting at times, but it's with regards to the sequel, however, I laughed a lot. I think there were some very clever moments, some very, very good commentary, and some of the setups were very smart. Like some of the pranks involved, some of them were excellent. However, I can only say that was for about half the movie. For the other half of the movie, it felt very tired, quite pedestrian, to be honest. And I was moments where I caught myself just scrolling through social media because I was that bored. And that surprised me for what is one of my favorite comedy characters. In a film, I was delighted the fact that this only came out announced a week ago, wasn't it? It was filmed
about 2 weeks ago. It had been filmed in private or secretly filmed over the many months. Because most of the film, I assume the majority of the film was shot last year, up until the point the coronavirus started kicking in, because the final third is focused heavily on the coronavirus. But just trying in with my thoughts a little bit here. I think because I am slightly old now, and I have a bit more awareness on things like politics, social commentary, and stuff like that now, I appreciate that the style of humor that Borat brings it works. It gives you a nice sort of eye-opening satirical take on the world today, and I think with that sort of wisdom under my belt, not great wisdom, might I add, but with that wisdom under my belt, I could say I didn't mind the sequel. I think I'm with you on this. There are certain bits that when it hits the mark without fail.
Yeah, the one scene I think which worked the most. Obviously, I won't give too much away, but there's a scene where they speak to a pastor who is very pro-life, incredibly anti-abortion, and it is, again, I'm not going to tell you anything about it because even if I did, you wouldn't believe me the things they did in it. You know exactly what scene I'm talking about. I thought that was one of the funniest moments in film history. I think that was so clever. So there were moments like that. You're not. I don't take you for being too into the cringe, because you weren't really kind of Ricky Gervais as well, because he was kind of a contemporary.
There are some bits of Ricky Gervais I don't mind. I mean, I liked watching the Ricky Gervais show on HBO, the animated one with Carl Pilkington. I think it became more about Carl Pilkington.
Yeah, that's
in a sense. So I kind
of.
Yeah, I kind of liked that approach. But in terms of Ricky Gervais stuff, it's kind of hit and miss for me. It just depends what the notion of comedy is. Cringe humor, I don't necessarily mind. It's just sometimes it's because there were times during the film when I was watching it last night, just before we were recording. It's like sometimes I felt I had to watch a few of the scenes just with my hands over my eyes and like that because I knew what was going on, and I found it. I think it was like I shamefully felt this was incredibly funny, but it's like I shouldn't watch. It's like I can't watch this. This is an awkward car crash that is going on, and it's
the
and
too many
you're- and-
taboos being broken for you.
it was just a kind of it's like I know what they're trying to do, but it's just like this is and it's not saying I disagree with I disagree with what they were trying to achieve. I mean, especially if we look at the medical clinic scene you were talking about with the pastor. I know it's like I love the setup. I knew where it was going, but it was just like
The execution.
yeah, the excuse is like, oh, this is like,
Brutal,
it's like,
isn't it?
it's like you kind of go, I know
You're,
what you're
you're
doing.
ideologically aligned with the film and the message
Yeah.
it's sending, but the way in which it's sending that message is disturbing you.
Yes,
There we go.
a little bit.
Yeah, that's
So,
what I
yeah.
felt a few times. Although my sense of humour is it's very dark, so I didn't really have a problem with any of the more questionable aspects of the film, which worries me actually to a degree.
It's like I think it's like a strange thing. It's like, should I be laughing at this in a way? But then that's I guess that is what makes Baron Cohen's work as these various characters. Well, it's basically he's like, it seems funny, but this is frighteningly real at the same time. And
Yeah, some of the sequences with because he hangs out with K-Anon, conspiracy theorists and things like that. My mind just I don't understand how you could see the world in those ways. I mean, I understand if you have reservations or like if you're critical of the Clintons, because I do as well. Just as I have, although I'm a lefty, I have criticisms of. I'm happy to criticize the Obama administration and things like this. The way in which the people Borat's engaging with describes them is just unhinged, to be honest. And it's I think it's admirable that the film is exposing some of the darker aspects of America at the moment. I do feel that it's a bit too slanted against the right, which may be a weird thing to say because I'm left leaning. But I think and I wouldn't want this film to be apolitical, anything like that at all. It's just that there are some there. I don't know. I think it's focused too much on Trump specifically. Might have actually hindered the film because I found the scenes where they're engaging with. It felt like most of the film was engaging with Republican, and I found it just a bit. It got a bit obvious in terms of the comedy. So although I'm with the film ideologically and politically, I found the comedy a bit just done before, but done by him. I mean, like, it's and done by, and it's been done better by people like Jon Stewart or John Oliver.
It's like there's sort of their themes or certain joke traits that they keep going back to with Borat throughout the second film. One of which is the anti-Semitic stuff, which I know was highlighted in the first film. And don't get me wrong, because there is not trying to go into too much detail. There is a scene where Borat dresses up as he believes as a Jewish person and goes into a synagogue, and it's like you already go. He's like, you don't really need to do this. It's like this is no, you really shouldn't be doing this. Just to correct myself.
To play devil's advocate, I believe that's one of the scenes. It's a bit spoilery. I believe the Jewish women he spoke to in that scene, he let them in on it. Some point during the production. Yeah. Obviously, other people involved in the film haven't had that luxury.
No, not at all. I mean, on one side, it's like on one side, particularly that sequence, it's relying on a trope that we've already experienced with Borat, and it's like it's shocked.
And it did it. I think it did it very well in the first film.
Yeah,
presenting such ridiculous anti-Semitism to show how ridiculous anti-Semitism is. I thought it was quite powerful. Here, it's just rehashed and a bit samey. Although the costume he does wear to walk into the synagogue, I thought that was brilliant and genuinely quite as hilariously awful or awfully hilarious. One of the two.
Yeah, I have to admit, I kind of did like. Obviously, I'm not. I was like, it's like I'm kind of cringing, going, "Oh God," as he's going into the synagogue. But when he has a conversation with one of the patrons of the synagogue, and it's like a sharing of like cultural experiences, it's kind of like this is actually not a bad moment. This is kind of like someone is trying to teach Borat where he is wrong in his thinking.
Yeah, and that's an interesting take. I can't remember her name. There's the African American lady who she's the babysitter. Again, I presume a member of the public. She's hired as a babysitter. She obviously expects a child. She's giving the 15-year-old daughter who's been caged and who's espousing this horrific misogynistic literature. Some of the nurseries as well, the sort of nursery tales that she talks about. If I was I do feel bad for the nation of Kazakhstan. But most people around the world, when you say Kazakhstan, your first thought is Borat. It's not cool, is it? I'd like to think that if you mention the United Kingdom around the world, you'll probably get James Bond, but it's probably not. It's probably Borat, actually. It's probably Ali G.
Or Downton Abbey. One of the two. It's usually Downton Abbey at this rate because of how popular it was. But no, speaking of the daughter character played by Bakalova, I think she makes a really good foil to Baron Cohen in this one. And I like the fact that a good portion of the film focuses on her sort of the challenges of her understandings and ideologies, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because obviously the way the film presents it is basically she's been taught that she is way down on the like
she's like lower than goat.
Yeah, lower than the common goat, and it was actually quite funny and also sweet in a way of sweet that Tuto is sort of learning that I can do these things, I can drive, I can. It's an emancipation story. I mean, it's obviously so beyond absurd. Although there's awkward parallels with certain regimes around the world, particularly like some speak to like Saudi Arabia and whatnot. They come to the clash of cultures experience with the character. I did find that quite fascinating. I was a bit worried at first because it did feel I hate the introduction of a new sidekick. I hate the Scrappy Doo syndrome in anything. Well, this isn't Scrappy Doo, so I think we're fine.
Exactly. And I was quite relieved actually that she was the performance is phenomenal. She where she was, she's a Hungarian actress, isn't she? Yeah, she's fairly unknown. Yeah, how this actress was found and brought to this film, I need to know because she was absolutely hilarious. Especially the scenes. She worked really well when she was talking to other women. She basically is almost a female in sort of a gender swapped version of Borat in some respects. I kind of liked her sort of inadvertent stumbling into the Republican women meeting. I was just thinking that actually. I know I just bemoaned the fact that it was all Republican. Actually, I thought that was quite funny. But again, it's like I think they weren't necessarily targeting the Republican Party. No, they were just. I think they were just being. It was just. I think it was just luck because clearly a lot of this has been made on the fly. Yes. And her describing her discovery of certain anatomical features of the female form. That's a good way of putting it, wasn't it? It's presented very differently in the film in front of these clearly very polite, conservative women. It's just even as she's talking and oh my god! So some of the scenes she's involved in, like the dance scene as well, the ball and the stuff. Oh god! You go. This is a fun moment. Oh no! Without revealing more. So it's frustrating because there are genuinely brilliant moments all the way through the film, and in particular, we could probably talk about the final scene because it's all over the news.
Oh,
Giuliani.
I was uncomfortable with that scene the moment it started.
Yes.
Even up until the moment the highly publicized moment happened.
Yes.
It's like there's something just the way the film presents or way that interview starts is just a little bit unsettling.
Yeah, and was that by design of the filmmakers, or was that because of Rudy Giuliani himself? And I get it. I think it's going to be a question that's going to be debated for quite a while. I mean, it's it's doing all wonders of publicity for Amazon, obviously.
Yeah.
I felt his behaviour it made me feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's
considering this is like the start of this is when obviously COVID was definitely in full effect going on, and there's this kind of like is like clear sort of I'm not keeping distance. It's like, oh yeah, I'm sort of just random. It's like there's a bit where he coughs and just goes, I'm all right, and it's like,
and then the creepiness begins.
Yeah.
I think I'm happy to talk about this just because the clip is being played all over the place. One of my favorite lines in the movie was when Borat tries to sabotage. Obviously, that was by design to make sure that nothing actually happened to Maria Bakalova. But when he interrupts what was clearly the beginnings of something quite ugly, in my estimation, at least.
Yeah.
You audience, you be the judge and watch it yourself. So that things like that works. Other things like when he actually tries to meet Mike Pence, I don't think that scene actually worked very well.
No, it was just kind of like a very.
It felt like, very samey, didn't it? Kind of.
It's because they had in the first one they had the hotel naked wrestle thing, which spoiled which spoils it. So that this naked wrestling moment between Borat and his producer, and it spoils
never stops. It just keeps going. It's like
it goes into a political rally. That was really funny.
I think it goes into like a mortgage brokers association.
Oh, okay. I might be wrong. Apologies.
But it's still funny regardless.
Yeah.
See, if something like that had happened, but again, we could talk about this because it was all over the news last week. Just dressing up as Trump and carrying a supposedly 15-year-old girl on his shoulder and walking in, and he didn't even. It didn't feel enough. Like with this kind of movie, you're expecting it to be pushed a lot further, like in the hotel scene in the first movie.
Yeah,
I mean, a bit kind of again, it's the sort of thing you'd see on a sort of like a typical episode of The Daily Show with Trevor Noah. Ideologically, I'm with the film. Politically, I'm with the film. Just the comedy, I don't think it ever reaches the same heights as the previous one.
Yeah,
with the exception of a small number of scenes, mostly the ones we've described or like recommended.
Yeah,
it's frustrating because the film just feels very tired a lot of the time. And I don't know if I'd ever. Oh, sorry, go on.
Oh no, finish your.
I was just saying, I don't know if I'll go out of my way to watch this again. Well, I can gladly put the first Borat on over and over again. By the way, if you do own the Blu-ray of Borat, it's brilliant. The disc looks like it's pirated. It's been like written out in Sharpie. It's just like
nice.
That's funny. That's funny.
If we were giving a verdict of the film, I think you've hit the nail on the head. So some of the humor when it hits, it works. It's really funny. It's really cringeworthy, and it gets the result it desires from your audience. But yeah, there are some things that just feel like retreads and feel tired. And I think that might jade the most loyal fan, obviously like yourself included in terms of from the first film. But at the end of the day, I'm happy that I've watched the film. I'm probably not going to watch the film again after this, to be perfectly honest.
I'm feeling the same way. Maybe 10 years from now, randomly. I don't know.
Maybe it'll be an interesting time capsule, I suppose.
But this film certainly is a time capsule.
Well, if you liked the character and if you like Baron Cohen's work, definitely give it a watch. If you've never really felt engaged with it before, you're not missing much, and it's not going to change your mind either. No. So with that in mind, I am quite comfortable giving this 3 stars.
I was thinking 3 stars as well, to be honest.
Yeah.
And at the moment, I would give the first Borat movie 5 stars. I don't know if you would agree with that, but to me, that's a 5-star movie.
I have forgotten the first film quite a lot, so I may need to revisit that at some point.
Do it with me and a bottle of wine.
Good bottle of port. So ultimately, Borat's subsequent movie film is nice, but not very nice.
Very nice.
I give it 3 stars.
Chicory.
So, with our Borat impersonations out of the way, that's all we have time for in this episode of Film Raw. Thank you very much for joining us. Whether you're watching the show on YouTube or listening via a dedicated podcast provider, make sure you subscribe so you can get brand new episodes first when we release them. You can also contact the show by emailing us at filmraw@bunkazilla.co.uk. There is also a whole world of monstrous content to explore at bunkazilla.co.uk. You can read engaging articles and listen to terrific podcasts from the talented team. And of course, you can follow us on Twitch, Facebook and Twitter at Bunkazilla UK. All those links are in the video description below. So until next time, stay safe, enjoy your movies. I've been Iain Boulton and joined, as always, by Christian R. Allan.
Chicory.
Indeedy. Keep it cinematic. Adios.